Our first story, President Akufo-Addo is demanding security and confidentiality in the management and protection of the data of Ghanaians and foreigners as the National Identification Authority begins registration for the new national ID, the Ghana card. The president became the first recipient of the card, said to become the main source of identification for any transaction in the country after it's been fully issued. Elton Brober's report.
The decision of a national ID card was first introduced by the Kufuor-led NPP administration in 2007, but little was seen in the implementation after the NDC assumed power despite a nationwide registration for the card. The inaction to push through the project after 10 years led to lack of interest in obtaining the card. However, the current NPP government's decision to formalize the economy has led to a deliberate effort to resource the National Identification Authority to push through the agenda. At a ceremony Friday, President Akufo-Addo underwent the process to acquire the Ghana card, said to represent the dawn of a new day in biometric identity management in Ghana and the virtues of a public-private partnership arrangement in meeting the country's development needs.
I receive as President of the Republic. The first is what is aptly dubbed the new Ghana card, signaling the dawn of a new day in biometric identity management in Ghana, and the virtues of a public-private partnership arrangement in meeting our needs for development. We would modernize and formalize the Ghanaian economy through the establishment of a credible national database and using the National Identification System, NIS, as the primary identifier, as prescribed by law. I have no doubt that the future of NIA is great and the future of Ghana's identity management system brighter.
The National Identification Authority is hoping to start a mass registration exercise of Ghanaians and foreigners living in the country beginning November. The authority wants to rely on the National Digital Addressing System, which is currently ongoing, to guide its registration process. The Ghana card, when fully rolled out, will, among other security features, afford holders the right of entry to any West African country without a passport. Executive Secretary of the NIA, Professor Kenatefa, provides more attributes of a card.
This card has all the internationally recognized and required features. The International Organization, International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO standards. It has ISO certification, and it is a passport. There is a passport on this card for travel within the West African sub-region. It's just to demonstrate the enormous capacity that is on this card, and the comprehensiveness which allows or will allow all other data silos to be connected, and the validity of claims of other documents to be checked against the National Identification Authority database. By law, if you must prove your identity, it is only the Ghana card that you can use to prove identity.
Elton Brober's report for Joy News.
So President Akufo-Addo has received his national ID. In fact, he wasn't the only one who received the national ID. The Vice President also got his national ID. The rest of the population, though, would have to wait a while longer before they get theirs. Professor Kenatefa, the Chief Executive of the National Identification Authority, has been explaining why this has to be so.
Our rollout plan, beginning today with the first phase of the registration exercise, beyond giving the card to His Excellency the President and the Vice, is to give cards to the people of this country beginning in November, as directed by His Excellency the Vice President, as we await the conclusion of the digital addressing system. That will mark the second phase. Then we will travel across the length and breadth of this country, and beginning from Accra, go anti-clockwise to the central region, to the western region, and then clockwise to Brong-Ahafo, Ashanti, Eastern, Volta, Northern, Upper East, and Upper West finally. God willing, hoping to complete this important national assignment within 1 year from November. Mr. President, there is much to say, but all of that can be shelved for the future, given the extreme constraints on your time. We are exceedingly grateful that all has come together this day to ensure that we will live up to the expectation of.
The Ghana AIDS Commission is warning the rate of HIV/AIDS infections in the country could get out of control unless radical educational measures are rolled out to discourage unsafe sex. The Commission is worried about the latest infection figures, which shows more of the country's youth are contracting the virus. Director of Research at the Commission, Etua Ahene Sechere, was speaking at Friday's sitting of Parliament's Public Accounts Committee.
That we've been successful in keeping the epidemic under control by having HIV prevalence at a low level. But that is not the full picture. We also see the dynamics, which shows that HIV is urbanized. And more importantly, prevalence is highest among the middle class and higher income members of this population. And therefore, our strategy must ensure that we use strategic targeting of vulnerable and high-risk groups, including people, including the middle class. HIV infection in the country is largely sexual. It's through sexual contact. So obviously, people who are resourced enough to, access sex, and usually by having multiple partners, may account for this. Number two is also the fact that probably we are not seeing what we used to see, emaciated people whom you wouldn't want to look twice in the face, known to have HIV. Now everybody is very healthy because of treatment, and therefore we are taking it for granted. However, the challenge we have as a country is that if we don't pay attention to the data we are seeing now, we stand a serious danger. And I'll use the example of Nigeria. 10 years ago, they were seeing more and more infections among young people. They turned blind eye to it, and now they have the third largest HIV population in the world. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, in another development, the National Health Insurance Scheme has seen a consistent decline in renewal of its subscriptions in the last 2 years. Its chief executive, Dr. Samuel Ano, says from 11.3 million in 2015, renewal of subscriptions dropped to 11 million in 2016. Figures for the first quarter of 2017 also shows a further decline, with implications for the survival of the scheme. Dr. Ano told Parliament's Public Accounts Committee when he appeared before it on Friday, a number of urgent measures would have to be taken, including increasing the NHIL levy to stop it from total collapse.
By the close of 2016, the membership had declined from 11.3 to just under 11 million. That decline in the first quarter of this year continued. We put in steps to try and halt the decline in the renewal of membership. The other major challenge we had was funding to the scheme, to the extent that at the end of 2016, the authority was indebted to subscribers and contractors to the tune of 1.2 billion. Now, in the course of this year, we try to focus on the payment of service providers at the disadvantage of contractors, because the service providers were keen to the health of the people who are subscribed to the scheme. We're glad to report that we've paid off most of the arrears, and our subscribers are being seen again by quite a lot of the service providers. We still have our contractors and things to attend to, and publicly will still entreat them to bear with us that very soon we will finish clearing all the arrears of the service providers and we will attend to the contractors. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The scheme, if you look at the insurance scheme, is probably, you can view it in 3 phases. The initial phase of the first 4 or 5 years, if you look at the contributions according to the formula of 2.5% VAT and 2.5% Senate contribution to the scheme, it was enough to look after the membership who were enrolled with the scheme, which was probably less than about 7 million at that stage. It had reserves and everything was smooth. In the second phase is a phase where you can look at it as, although the model of 2.5% VAT and the 2.5% Senate contribution stayed the same, the membership rose astronomically from about 7 million to about 11.3 million at the end of 2015. So if you look at the massive increase in membership with the formula financing supporting it being the same, then you realize that there will be challenges. And because of those challenges, the scheme could not meet its demands in terms of providing the case, the ribbons, all the things that go to enrolling the membership. So that led to a bit of a decline. And then when the scheme also faltered in paying the service providers, they were being turned away. So confidence in the scheme dropped, and people were not very keen or interested in renewing the membership. All this contributed to the decline in the membership from the end of 2015 coming.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break to bring you more stories, but still ahead. The first-year students who were placed in 2 Central Region Senior High Schools and paid to be accommodated in private hostels will be getting refunds of their hostel fees thanks to a decision by government to recognize the schools as boarding institutions. And then in one story that's generated quite a lot of public interest, Joy News is learning that the 10-year-old boy who died at the Tema General Hospital in what his mother believes was a case of medical negligence may have sought medical intervention at a herbal clinic after his initial visit to the hospital. Stay tuned, we'll be back with all that and more. Two Central Region Senior High Schools have been given boarding status by government as part of measures to address the challenges confronting implementation of the free SHS program. The Academy of Christ the King and UPSHS, though community day schools, have students placed there who do not reside in the community. The students were, as a result, made to pay for accommodation in nearby hostels. Correspondent Richard Kojunyakon, however, reports government has decided to absorb the cost of accommodating the students in the hostels and directed that the monies they paid are refunded to them. He joins me with more on this story. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Israel.
All right, so how did the students end up being placed as boarders in a community day school?
Well, it was the computerized selection placement system that placed the schools in these 2 schools. And so when they were placed there, the parents and the wards came complaining that they come from areas that are outside Cape Coast. Some came from Kumasi, Takwa, and the rest. And so when they heard that government was implementing the free senior high school policy, they decided that, well, they should have everything for free. But the school said that, no, you can only have the free components in the day student status, but you cannot enjoy the boarding for free because we are not a boarding facility. And so they decided that, well, there are hostels, and so the school partners some private hostels, and so that is why they were getting money. So others were told to pay 600 Ghana cedis, others were paying 700 Ghana cedis. So it sparked up some controversies, and government decided to step in. And so that is why we are where we are now.
All right, Richard, is it the case that maybe these schools we're talking about actually had some hostel facilities associated with the school, and that's why people thought these schools were boarding schools and ended up being there?
Yes, previous years, students from other schools outside Cape Coast were posted to these schools. And so the schools had some private hostels. Their hostels have not been absorbed by government. And so they are not known to government as government-assisted boarding schools. They are just community-based senior high schools that operate in partnership with some private hostels. And so they operate according to the boarding standards that, we see in the normal boarding schools. And so that is how supervision and everything is done, just as you see in other schools that operate as boarding facilities.
How secure are these hostels in which the students have been accommodated, considering they are quite young?
Yes, these hostels are operated in partnership with the schools, and so the school has supervisory role over these hostels, their house masters, and everything that is in other boarding schools are there. They go for inspections and everything. They ensure that security is adequate, and so there are security persons that man these hostels. The school has the responsibility of taking care of these people, even though they are partnering other private hostels in ensuring that they get accommodation for these students. So they are secured as far as the operations are concerned.
All right, so are they yet to come in, or have they come in and are they settling? How are they settling in?
Well, they have settled in. They started on Monday, and so Tuesday, Wednesday. So this information came on Thursday when some of the heads went to Accra to meet the GES Council, and so they decided to offer these schools a boarding status so that monies that have been collected from some of these parents would be refunded to them, because government has assured them that the Free Senior High School is going to cover all of these things. However, they are operating according to the quota system, just as in the boarding houses, and they are operating on the first come, first served basis. So it wouldn't be, some of the wards will still have to pay for hostel fee because they didn't come early, and so they do not have cases for everybody. They don't have unlimited boarding facilities. Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much, Richard Kojo, Nyakwa Central Region correspondent. Now, staying with education, there's one thing that every school child needs, and it has to do with feeling a sense of belonging in a school. And school uniforms play a very important role in giving them that sense of belonging. Now, though right here in Accra, most of the pupils at the so-called Mamprobi kindergarten do not have uniforms because their parents cannot afford to get them some. It is actually listed amongst the Ghana Education Service's top 5 most deprived schools in Accra. Nancy Emefa Tratosi reports, thanks to a philanthropist, the children now have uniforms so they can also belong.
The wearing of school uniforms, we say, is a badge of pride and gives students the feeling they belong to one community. This kindergarten 1 and 2 pupils of Soko Mamprobi, though happy, lack that one thing that identifies them as students.
I have twins here, and always I was thinking about their uniform. I have one for them. They all wear one. But I'm thinking about how this year I have to sew one for them so that they will get 2.
After visiting the school and realizing how difficult it was for parents to get uniforms for their children, founder of Child Safeguarding Affairs Foundation, Yvonne Nefi, donated some school uniforms and bags to the pupils to aid them.
Mr. Ramsey Alata here receiving his uniform.
When I came last year, I suggested to Ghana Education Services, Mr. Sante, to inform me of the 5 most deprived schools in Accra. And I chose Mamprobi Soko School as one of the 5, out of the 5, because when I came here, something spiritually and emotionally touched my heart, that the kids were walking barefooted. Some of the parents, you could tell, were actually struggling to feed the children, let alone buy school uniforms for them. So it just touched my heart that this is the school. And there was some connection. I don't know what it is, but emotionally I was drawn to this school. And having been drawn to this school and having seen some of the parents speaking to the children, it just confirms that what I felt was what God was leading me to do.
Headmistress for the school, Vicentia Selassie Panini, used the opportunity to call on corporate bodies and individuals to come to their aid.
This presentation is in the right direction. It's a timely intervention to the pupils of this school. You could see that from the children and the parents, they are all happy. And I'm so happy. And even us, at the time we are presenting the uniform to them, people are rushing in to come and register their wards or their children. It's a sort of enrollment booster. That is, we said enrollment drive. So this will go a long way. You know, we have some children out there because of this uniform problem. They don't like coming to school because parents cannot afford. So I'm calling on other corporate society organizations to come in to help alleviate this illiteracy in the community.
As Nelson Mandela once said, there can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way it treats its children.
The Roads and Highways Ministry has assured efforts are ongoing to make the Kumasi-Accra Highway safe for pedestrians and commuters. There have been concerns of knockdowns along the stretch as a result of the absence of designated crossing areas. Appearing for Parliament's Public Accounts Committee, Roads Minister Kwesi Amoako-Attah said the issue has come to the ministry's attention and they are dealing with it.
We have had that complaint. It poses great threat to pedestrians, and that place I know is your constituency and is very close to mine. And you are talking about the Lindador Junction. You know, it's a very wide span of road, and people attempt to cross, you know, all over because there is no real facility for them. The technical people have visited, you know, the place, and they have come out with a recommendation that is approved and is being worked on. And very soon, pretty soon, because if I have to put timing on it, the chief executive of Ghana Highway Authority, you know, tells me in a month's time.
Mr. Amoako-Attah also announced plans to ease traffic on the Tema motorway, a route he says government considers a priority.
The specific road that you are complaining about will soon be worked on because currently we have what we call Abidjan-Lagos highway. You know, it has started, it's ongoing, and it starts from Abidjan through Elubo, you know, and it will join Ghana through the N1. It says 6-lane dual carriage, and it will join the motorway all the way to Lagos. That is why we are working on the expansion of the motorway into a 6-lane project. So the Afrao Road is also going to be turned into a 6-lane dual carriage road, and it will run.
Now, coming up in business, the new GridCo boss has identified reduction in cost of power distribution as its priority to help reduce electricity tariffs in the country. Business comes up in a moment. Stay tuned.
Hello again, good evening to you. Welcome to Business. The new chief executive of GridCo, Jonathan Amoako-Attah, says he plans putting in place measures that will help reduce the cost of distributing power. This, he believes, would go a long way to reduce electricity tariffs in the country. The new boss of GridCo disclosed this to Joy Business after the inauguration of the GridCo board. George Wiafe has more.
The 8-member GridCo board is chaired by the former head of the Media Commission, Ambassador and former journalist Cabral Blay Amihie. Inaugurating the board, Energy Minister William Oreko-Edu charged them to do everything within their power to help improve the operations of GridCo.
There are still challenges within the power delivery on the whole. It is my fervent hope that you, the board, will provide the necessary directives for the resolution of all the difficulties associated with the transmission system. One main task, which is quite urgent, is to see the establishment of the wholesale electricity market, which in my opinion will drive down tariffs and give comfort to customers and make us competitive in the sub-region to the West Africa power pool system. The board have to help them, that is GridCo, to grow expertise in wholesale power market and grid consultancy, and that we are developing to get a share of the growing electricity market within the sub-region and beyond. GridCo has potential for additional revenue for the leasing of its excess fiber optic network and maintenance agreements with the mining companies for the maintenance of their capacitors, transformers, and other switchyard equipment.
Chairman of the board, Cabral Blay Amihie, said the board's workings will be guided by the president's vision of industrializing the economy. Hence, reliable power is critical to achieving this.
The enormity of the tasks that the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has assigned us as the new governing board of GridCo, a very strategic institution in the overall development of Ghana, was not lost on me. And I believe the other directors, when we were first informed about our appointment. Today, with the formal inauguration of the board by the Honorable Deputy Minister of Energy and the commencement of our association with GridCo, we are more than reminded about our responsibility to the millions of our compatriots who have reposed their confidence and trust in the government to deliver and guarantee uninterrupted power supply for both domestic, commercial, and industrial purposes.
The chief executive of GridCo said it is critical to reduce the cost of utility tariffs because of its impact on the economy.
My focus is to get it established to run properly. The reason being that we think that if we have the wholesale electricity market established properly, it will drive tariffs down and consumers would pay less electricity bills, which would make everybody happy. It will also make production of electricity in Ghana very competitive, and we can export to the outside markets, the countries surrounding the country like Togo, Benin, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, and even to Mali. You know, everybody wants cheap electricity. Everybody wants cheap electricity, and I believe that if we're able to drive the cost of production down, we'll be able to launch into the export market.
The executive director of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, COPEG, has expressed displeasure about the frequent hikes in petroleum prices in the last few weeks. Duncan Amwa, who was speaking to Adom TV reporter Prince Owusu-Esiedu, said a 17% increase in fuel prices is imminent. He warned that if nothing is done to prevent these increases, he will collaborate with drivers to demonstrate against the government.
Prices have gone up already. We saw some increments last week. We've seen some this week. What is disturbing and worrying, if you pick the figures we are getting from the BDCs and movements of products within the system from yesterday to today, there is only one indication that prices are going to go up again within the next 24, 48 hours. And what is unfortunate is that this time we are not looking at 2%, 3%. It is looking between 16 and almost 20%. and that clearly is worrying. We have said the government should ensure that the price stabilization and recovery levy, one of the taxes that it has collected over the period, right? Some should be given at least to the importers to be able to cushion prices at this time when the effects of the hurricane and movements of products globally seem to be pushing prices upwards. Mind you, OPEC has been able to reduce production outputs by almost 1.8 million barrels daily. Just month on month between July and August, they were able to do additional 79,000 barrels. What it means is that prices are looking upward. Ghanaians do not have that kind of income to be able to sustain increases Monday, increases Tuesday, increases Wednesday. This is the time that we need the government action by way of reducing some of the taxes or using some of the taxes already collected to mitigate the harsh effect we are seeing on the global market. If we don't see this, unfortunately, by Monday, most pumps would have gone way above 20 Ghana cedis a gallon, and that will be too much. We have given the government a 2-week period within which to ensure that something reasonably is done to maintain or reasonably sustain prices. If that is not done, I'm sure we'll all take to the streets in protest of what we are seeing at our pumps. Discussions have gone on. What we are looking for is not just a discussion, we are looking for action. We want to see not just the Energy Ministry, but the Finance Ministry also being boarded. Because as I said, petroleum controls the entire economy. If you increase fuel prices, teachers would soon start asking for more.
Now, the world marks Pensions Awareness Day today. Ghana's informal pension sector has come to the fore. Currently, it is faced with several challenges, with about 1.6 million informal sector workers not subscribed to any pension scheme. It is against this backdrop that the People Pensions Trust has engaged with executives of the Union of Informal Workers, UNIWA, to mark the day. Charles Aiti reports.
The Pensions Awareness Day has been, recognized across the world. And here in Ghana at the Trades Union Congress right here in Accra, the People's Pensions Trust together with the Informal Workers Association have met to find out the best ways to streamline the sector regarding the informal pension scheme in the country today. As at now, Ghana is still having severe challenges affecting, the informal pensions scheme. Of course, various causes have been related to this very fact. But we do have here with us the Chief Finance Officer of the People's Pensions Trust, the person of Samuel Waterbeck, to help us understand the real essence of a sense. Awareness Day, and here at the Trades Union Congress, executive members of the Union of Informal Workers, and of course that's of the People's Pension Trust, have converged at the TUC to deliberate on best ways to increase their interest in the informal pension sector. We shall be speaking with the Chief Finance Officer of the People's Pension Trust, in the person of Samuel Waterbeck, to find out from him what exactly are the key challenges facing the informal sector workers regarding pensions and how best governments can come in the wake of this challenge.
85% of the workforce in the country falls under the informal sector, but a majority do not have access to a pension scheme. According to latest figures from the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, the number of informal sector workers who are not subscribed to the informal pension scheme stands at 1.6 million. Speaking to Joy Business, Chief Executive Officer of the People's Pensions Trust, Samuel Waterbeck, noted the trend can change if government incentivizes the sector.
Currently, also in Ghana, life expectancy is increasing. So we know that a time will come that majority of the workers in the informal sector can't continue to do the work that they are doing anymore. Now we know that these people can't also depend solely on their family anymore because of the breakdown of joint family structure. So we need to come with a scheme where people can put money aside so that when the time comes that they can't work anymore, they have money coming in. And I think how government can help to boost the sector is to come with a matching scheme, because the education is something that we are doing. And as you said, the moment that we educate people, yes, they have the zeal to join. But the question is not just joining, it's about paying consistently. And for people to pay consistently, I believe there should be an incentive for them to pay.
General Secretary of the Union of Informal Workers, UNIWA, Deborah Freeman, has hinted of plans to get 150,000 informal workers on the pension scheme by the end of 2017.
Already we have 81,000, so we are expecting that by the end of this year, at least we should be able to have about up to 150,000, informal workers, because now we have a few months to end the year, so we don't want to be over-ambitious.
Meanwhile, government is hopeful of shoring up interest in the Tier 3 pension scheme so as to boost confidence in the sector. For Joy Business, Charles Aite reporting.
And that's all in business. Many thanks for watching. My name is Emmanuel Apwaji. Have a great weekend.
Now, business activities at the Aflao border have hit an all-time low this year, with the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority lagging behind trade targets by 45%, with revenue generation also dropping by 22%. The lull in business is being blamed on the political tensions in Togo, which is causing traders to stay away. Joy News' Favor Nunu has more.
What you're seeing today here on this compound is an empty space. Now, on a very normal day, what happens here is that the entire space, as you see, is usually very filled to capacity. These articulated vehicles and trucks that you're seeing parking around here have actually reduced in number. We're learning that usually the whole space is very filled, and you usually would not find some space to move around, because there will be young men who are loading products into these vehicles just so the owners can then transit out of the country. What we're seeing here is a drop in business, and we're learning that this is as a result of the ongoing political tensions that we're experiencing in Togo.
Sometimes it is the problem from the Togos which is doing all those things, because sometimes if the Togo port is free, sometimes the goods comes here providedly, but now the goods are not coming like how they came first. It's affecting us, because sometimes if we do this one, sometimes you get small money.
How much do you make when you load a food truck?
It depends on the goods that we load. Sometimes we can load a food truck to collect 10 million or 5 million.
And then you share?
Yes.
Okay.
So actually me, I used to get like 500,000 or 20 CD a day like that sometimes.
But with today and yesterday, how has it been for you? What have you been making?
It's not only today and yesterday. From last week, how the things are going in Togo, that is why we are also, it is affecting us also here.
Yeah, we used to load 2 times a week. 2 times a week, but right now only once a week.
Once a week. Why are you now loading once a week instead of twice?
Because of the Togo problem. But we hope that maybe next week things will be fine. So that's affecting, because our people there, they used to call us here. But actually, you used to wait two days to get to Abidjan. But right now, 1 week.
So we're still at the Aflao border, and we're trying to follow up on exactly how things are panning out. We've engaged with some of the loaders. We've also located some drivers who will be speaking to shortly. And see, send a business here, Koso.
Business in the they say no Togo some of in some business in Koso. Load no cry, Jina in Yabi. Cause this is no man ma as if you Togo Mona Bania Fako. And I'm some no moye no Hobasa in load no ma. Tia was a beer Jina by 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Load no ma. And Lumina Jina, almost said a bear on Bejama, load no Bama, Timania Bia Corner, Yeri man Muswanya Bia, the young Comunia Bini. Jina Hosa, Yansu cry, top one cry in Nibina, Jina Hosa, near home train.
Everything has just come down. Now everything has spoiled because of the political issues they are taking there, so that we can't enter port inside to load. That one too is a big issue if you do something for us.
The evidence of business grounding to a halt could be seen at the long room unit of the Customs Division, where some traders could be seen lying on benches taking a nap, following from the pace at which business was picking up.
Here in the long room, we work on heavy consignments like goods coming from the port or goods in an articulator or cargo trucks. And from what is happening in Togo, the complaints I have received here is that some of the shops are not open for goods to be loaded to the Ghana side, and that has slowed down work a bit. Actually, I noticed things have slowed down. They had their Salah, so it's about a week or two now that things have slowed down a bit. Yes.
How much are we losing in terms of revenue, especially people coming in, declaring what they have, and being able to get taxes off it?
Actually, I cannot talk for the whole section, but for my section, a shortfall of about, I would say it has gone down by about 22% or so, but I don't think it's so bad. We'll try and then catch up when working groups. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now on to one story that's been of massive public interest in the last few days. Joining us is learning the 10-year-old boy who lost his life at the Tema General Hospital from what the mother believes was medical negligence also sought intervention from a herbalist after his initial visit to the hospital. The visit to the herbalist at Aponche Clinic, also in Tema, according to a WhatsApp message making the rounds, may have worsened the boy's condition. The text, believed to have been put out by someone closely associated with the Tema General Hospital, suggests the boy may have developed sepsis from the herbs used to treat him. The WhatsApp message reads as follows. Now, the woman brought her 10-year-old to the accident center of the Tema General Hospital. He had sustained a sprain. He was giving pain medications for review later. On Friday, the woman brought the son back to the accident center complaining that the painkiller was overdosed for the child and that the child was dying because of that. She was asked to send the child to the pediatrics emergency. On arrival, she made similar claims. Various labs were done which revealed the child had a severe sepsis. The necessary treatment was started only to discover later during the examination that the child was sent to the Aponche Clinic where all sorts of herbs and concoction were applied and tied to the leg for whatever reason. The leg was thus rotting with overwhelming sepsis, which eventually killed the child. Got nothing whatsoever with painkillers, the message concludes. Now, authorities at the Aponche Clinic have confirmed treating the boy, but deny administering any concoction. Joining us is Maxwell Agbagba has been seeking answers from the herbal clinic about the role they played in the deceased treatment.
He was brought here of complaining of just leg pain, and we just massage it with warm water, cold water, and after that we put the shea butter and then we bandage it.
What was the state of the sprain? Because that's what we understand, that it was a sprain.
Okay. We saw the condition that we cannot put any hot medicine. That's why you only put the shea butter on it and then we bandage it.
So was this a shea butter that you
Yes,
put on
please, yeah.
So what role did you also play? I understand that you also observed, the entire process. Can you tell us what you witnessed?
Actually, what happened is here, when they brought any case, we, the senior doctors, we come together, then we share ideas. What way that we have to pass to cure the person. So my senior colleague just called me, draw my attention on the boy. So we look at it and we meet together and we say, no, this problem, when we apply something hot, it's going to cause us because the leg is looking shiny. The leg, yeah. So we just apply. We use ordinary water to clean the leg.
Was it swollen?
It was swollen. So we just use.
Did you see any cut?
No, there is no cut.
Okay.
Actually, there's no cut. So we use.
What was the extent of the swell on the leg? Are you able to tell us? Was it very big?
It's normal. It's not too big. It was normal. So we just use ordinary water to clean the leg. Then we use ordinary shea butter. Nothing, there's nothing inside. Shea butter can cure. So we use ordinary shea butter on the leg and ask them and they just bandage it. And that is all.
This latest injury that we're talking about, how many days did you come, into contact with him, the patient?
Once.
Once.
He came here once and he didn't come again.
In the information making around on social media that the boy actually came here and you gave him a lot of concoctions.
We say no, and we want to ask the public and the general world that can shea butter let somebody breathe from the ear and from the mouth? I want the public to judge. Can ordinary shea butter apply on the leg can cause that? The world should judge.
Well, authorities at the Tema General Hospital have already indicated they are investigating the boy's death. We're taking a break on Joy News Prime. We're bringing you international news next. It is an education scholarship that dates back to Ghana's colonial era and was meant to bridge the education gap between the North and the South. Though for many years it has provided the opportunity for people in northern Ghana to get secondary school education, the Northern Special Scholarship Scheme has virtually been hanging by the thread for at least the last 10 years. Today on Joy News Agenda, which focuses on the free senior high school policy, Joy News' Upper East correspondent Albert Sorry looks at how the Northern Special Scholarship Scheme, which was spearheaded by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, has been implemented over the years and the lessons that can be drawn for implementation of the NPP's free senior high school policy.
The idea for the Northern Special Scholarship Scheme was conceived in the roadmap to Ghana's independence. According to retired educationist Robert Ajeni, elders in northern Ghana at the time were unwilling to endorse self-government because they felt that the colonial government had adopted policies that made the northern part of the country to lag behind the southern sector in terms of education.
The proposal, which the Queen agreed, was that they will put some substantial amount, they're saying about £30 million, it's in the archive, if you go, we'll find it, and give to Nkrumah. But at first, the Queen wanted to keep the money there, supervise the work of the accelerated development in education so that the North can now go along with the South. And this is what the money was to be used for. Number one, put massive infrastructure in the form of the Ghana Education Trust schools. Two, the Northerners who had left school and were teachers could go back to the only secondary school in the North, which was the Tamale Secondary School, and start from Form 4 and continue their education. Then all Northerners who were in secondary schools in the South or the only secondary school in the North, they were to be catered for from this money that was to be put aside.
Robert Ajeni has worked as an educationist for 36 years. In the earlier parts of his career, Mr. Ajeni headed several senior secondary schools in the Upper East region and therefore got to be part of the implementation of the Northern Special Scholarship Scheme.
It was something, I would say, worth doing. Okay. I was surprised that in 1981, one parliamentarian raised it in Parliament that since Liman had become a president, then the North probably was educationally provided, and that scheme should stop. But with a lot of argument here and there, it didn't stop and it continued to today. But the important thing is nobody has been able to prove that that money is finished, even as we sit today talking.
Bismarck Ayorogo is the president of the Northern Patriots in Research and Advocacy, NOPRA. He benefited from the Northern Special Scholarship Scheme as a student between 1992 and 1994.
Okay. For instance, I benefited a lot from the Northern Scholarship in secondary school in the sense that I'm from a very, very poor background. My parents couldn't have afforded to pay fees if they hadn't been because of the Northern Scholarship.
Today, Bismarck and his organization are constantly advocating for the smooth and continuous implementation of the Northern Special Scholarship Scheme. Bismarck thinks that the scheme is no longer working as effectively as expected.
The feeding grants were almost coming, all the time coming in good time. But as we speak, successive governments, whether the immediate past NDC government or the present government, feeding grants to second cycle institutions is always a very big challenge.
The Northern Special Scholarship Scheme is on its knees because today parents and guardians have to find hundreds of Ghana cedis to pay all manner of fees anytime their wards in senior high school have to go to school. Poverty is endemic in the Upper East region, so a few families are able to afford the cost of senior high school education for their children. Dr. Yin Nyaya is one of few people who are successful in his extended family. He has the heavy burden of paying the school fees of many children in his extended family.
I've just supported my close family, 3 people through the SS. The average fee, including looking after the child, the first day came to over 1,200.
He believes that free senior high school education will lift financial burdens off many parents and give opportunity to many students who otherwise could drop out of school. Robert Ajeni does not agree with a school of thought that suggests that the free senior high school policy should be put on hold until infrastructure at the various schools are expanded.
In the history of educational development, I would disagree with that. If that was what we were looking for, today, the Bolga Polytechnic would not be there. Even the University of Ghana would not be there.
For Joy News, Albert Sori, reporting from Bolgatanga.
Poverty, ineffective enforcement of the country's laws on child marriages, and influence of foreign cultures have been identified as reasons there is increase in teenage pregnancy and child marriages in the Wild West district of the Upper West region. The district currently leads the region in cases of teenage pregnancy and child marriages. At a workshop organized for key stakeholders by the Department of Gender, participants called for stiffer punishment for those who impregnate girls and make them drop out of school. Upper West's Joy News correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Wechao.
The Wild West district is leading the Upper West region in cases of teenage pregnancy and child marriages. The district, according to statistics from the Ghana Health Service, revealed that there have been consistent increase in the number of cases of teenage pregnancy. From a figure of 376 in 2013, it moved up to 428 in 2014. In 2015, a total of 456 cases were recorded, whilst 2016, it went up further to 493 cases. As a result of that, most of the affected girls are sometimes forced to drop out from school. Concerned about the effects and the bleak future it will have on the district, the Upper West Department of Gender, which is under the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, with support from the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, organized a one-day sensitization workshop for stakeholders in the district. The objective of the workshop is to solicit the views of the stakeholders, comprising chiefs, queen mothers, opinion and religious leaders, and women groups on the issue and proffer solutions for it to be stopped. Acting Upper West Regional Director of the Department of Gender, Charity Bature, noted that for a country to attain the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 5, conscious efforts should be made to ensure that the education of the girl child is secured.
It is our duty as key stakeholders to help save the girls who are likely to fall victims to such practice, and to also assist them achieve their God-given potentials. In view of this, I wish you all a fruitful deliberation and hope that at the end of the workshop we will be able to fashion out how best we can ensure that our girl child stays in school and is able to attain the best out of her life.
Poverty, ineffective enforcement of the country's laws, and the subculture of the people, popularly referred to as the Jabunyeni, which frown on the people pursuing cases in the law court, were penciled as the reason for the increasing cases of forced marriages in the district. Nada Nyagara Wolamae is the chief of Tokale.
Interventions have been put in place. What are the results? Why are we not getting results? We are getting results because our laws in Ghana in general are very good, but enforcement of the laws are non-existent. How many people have been prosecuted for marrying girls without permission because of elopement? How many of them? Don't you know them? Have you reported the cases? We have not reported the cases. Why are we not reporting the cases to Jalabunyan? And that is what is killing us.
Warwick District Commander of the Ghana Police Service, ASP Christopher Tawiye, welcomed the program, warning that henceforth offenders of the law will be made to face the full rigors of the law.
You will realize that when you capture or you adopt a girl child who is under 16 years, is a child, and to your home is an offense, which makes it adoption or kidnapping. It is not better for us because we need to train our girl child so well for them to attend school and be greater people for the nation and for us. So I'm here in support of this program because when these issues are reported to police, we will use the criminal offenses book that I have here to deal with them or to help the society to eliminate this type of child-girls marriage.
Reporting for J News, Rafiq Salam, watch out.
The Agbogbo Mafia of the Asogli State, talked about further the 14th, sat in state at his palace at Bankoe in the Volta regional capital Ho earlier on Friday to receive well-wishers who traveled far and near to pay homage to him. The ceremony forms an integral part of the annual Asogli YAM Festival and provides a platform to sub-chiefs, traditional authorities and organizations operating in the Asogli State to pay their respect to Togbe Afede and reaffirm their allegiance to him. Fred Kwame Asari's report.
Various traditional rulers across Ghana and neighboring countries were at the Asogli Palace to show respect and support the festivities. Some business entities operating within the state, such as the Volta Serene Hotel, National Investment Bank, and some government institutions, also paid homage to Togbe Afede and presented some items towards the celebration of this year's YAM Festival. The chairman of the planning committee, Brigadier General retired Martin Ahiaglu, reiterated the festival's contribution to a worldwide recognition of the Asogli State, making the state a tourism destination.
The Asogli YAM Festival has become one of the important festivals in the country, and it comes along with hosts of visitors into the region and the Asogli State for that matter. And since those hosts of tourists are coming to the region, hotels are springing up. These hotels are serving as a hub of conferences and meetings, both from international and local organizations. It's also coming along with commercial and trading activities. It's boosting trade, and new banks are also springing up.
There will be a grand derby Saturday at the Jubilee Park to climax the festival. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News.